The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
I've got some really interesting stories on today's bonus show. This first one, which was actually selected and sent to me by Rachel. There's been this issue with Airbnb, which is the housing rental site, which people sometimes use for longer term rentals, short term rentals, vacations, alternatives to hotels, options in areas that have very few hotels. It's really a major website at this point that spans the entire globe, actually. They've been criticized because it's very easy, or at least it was very easy on Airbnb, to discriminate on the basis of gender, on the basis of race, on the basis of age, et cetera, et cetera. The idea of Airbnb is it's sort of based on a reputation economy where you would be able to, as a renter, you can review the landlord, and as a landlord, you can review the renter, and then ideally, the good landlords have a higher reputation rating, and the good renters have a higher reputation rating, and this is the basis on which people will be accepted or denied for rental periods. Unfortunately, there are a number of cases which suggest to us that this is not the case. Individual cases of people not being rented to seemingly because of their race. Now, how would a landlord know their race? Because of user photographs that are required on Airbnb. So Airbnb now has said, we are going to take action to try to combat discrimination. Number one, the rental hosts, the landlords, for lack of a better term, need to agree to a community commitment that will start on November 1st, which will include a non-discrimination policy. That's good, although it's pretty hard to enforce something like that because the landlords can say, oh, yeah, I'm adhering to that policy, but that doesn't mean I have to just accept any renter. The other change is that Airbnb is going to reduce the prominence of user photographs, which obviously if you look at a user photograph, generally speaking, you can tell both the race and the gender of the individual that is attempting to rent here. Although, again, they're going to reduce the prominence of user photographs. One of the big things on Airbnb is they want to make sure that they know who it is that is renting. And one of the ways they enforce that is by having you upload a photograph, a profile picture, sort of like what you would see on Facebook. So you can reduce the prominence, but unless you hide it from the landlord or host altogether, I don't exactly know how you can ensure that there is not going to be discrimination. So this is a pretty big issue that is creating a sort of black cloud over Airbnb in many areas. It's now in 34,000 cities. It's in 191 countries. It is absolutely huge. And when you think about the types of people, the backgrounds, and I'm not talking about just race and gender, but also economic backgrounds and in so many other areas, that could be renting in different countries, etc. This is absolutely an issue. Now, let me tell you another layer of this that is very interesting. I spoke to a friend of mine over the weekend who is a real estate and landlord-tenant attorney here in Massachusetts, and the laws may be different from state to state. In Massachusetts, it is not illegal if you are advertising a room for rent in your house. It is not illegal to reject individuals based on sexual orientation, for example. This would be different than if you are renting an apartment and it is truly an apartment rental that would be more governed by law. But if you are renting a room in your house, you may not be able to, and this is the part that was less clear because the conversation was interrupted. You may not be able to advertise, and I think I'm pretty sure you can't advertise looking for a heterosexual roommate for a room in my house. That I am pretty sure is not allowed. But there would be nothing requiring you to hide if you say, you know, really, I want someone who is heterosexual sharing this room in my house. My understanding, based on what my real estate attorney friend told me, is that is actually not against the law. So this is really an Airbnb policy that they are proactively attempting to put in place, non-discrimination, not something that is required by law, at least in Massachusetts, when it comes to individual room rentals. something interesting to keep in mind. On my upcoming trip, I'm actually going to be using Airbnb for the first time. And I am not renting a room in some guy's house or something like that. I'm actually going through, there are some sort of management companies that will manage a bunch of Airbnb entire apartments. And I've very carefully selected one that has very, very high positive reviews. We will see. My sense is that it will be a positive experience, but I will absolutely report back to you after our vacation. I'm always interested in stories involving medical technology, significant advances in medical technology. And we have now learned that a woman who is not only paralyzed but pregnant used what is being described as a bionic suit to finish a half marathon. Now, it did take her something like 5 days to finish the half marathon. This is a suit that, and I encourage you to check out the pictures of it, it basically provides active support. It provides strength. It provides locomotion. I don't know the exact way to describe it to someone who is paralyzed. It mimics the way that joints would work if they were not paralyzed. And we've been talking about the prototypes for this type of suit, this type of device for a very, very long time. This is now the first person to complete a marathon in a bionic suit. And it is absolutely amazing. I think it's something like 5 total days of time over a 16-day period or something along those lines that it took. It's absolutely amazing. And this really just is a story about the direction we are going with medical technology. And I know it can be super, super frustrating and really sort of exasperating when you hear we're on the brink of a big discovery, a big advancement when it comes to X disease or X condition, and you have a loved one who is suffering from that condition and whose time may be limited. I totally understand that. But it is also true that many of those, hey, we're on the brink type announcements from the last 2, 3, 4 years are really moving forward. And this bionic suit, you know, the practicality, the affordability of it, these are absolutely real questions. But we have now seen in prototype studies and in someone who has now completed a half marathon that these do work. These actually can get people who otherwise would be, practically speaking, immobile, completing a half marathon. And it's absolutely amazing. And we'll continue to follow what the future is with this type of technology. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know I have very, very low opinions of the diamond industry. I think the entire industry is essentially a monopolistic scam. We have an artificially low supply. We actually know that the diamond supply is way higher in reality than what the sort of acknowledged world supply of diamonds is, and this is being done to keep the price artificially high. We know that there has been a concerted effort to have these ad campaigns that establish the diamond as the go-to engagement ring gemstone, precious stone, when there's really nothing concrete that tells us, oh, well, when you propose to someone, you get them a diamond ring. And we also have the absolute atrocious nature of what are described colloquially as conflict diamonds, conflict stones. We know that children are dying trying to recover and mine these stones. It's an absolutely horrible, horrible industry. Unfortunately, we now are starting to see the diamond mining apparatus move from land to the oceans. We now know that off the coast of Namibia, 150 meters, or about 450 feet below the surface of the ocean, diamond miners are starting to really accelerate the amount of mining that is being done there. Now, there's an estimate, and again, I don't know if this estimate is the real estimate or the estimate based on the artificially low supply of diamonds that we are told exist. I don't really know. But supposedly we have 15 years of diamonds left under the earth on land, right? So now the focus is becoming offshore diamond mining. Offshore oil drilling, yeah, we know all about that. Offshore diamond mining is now a thing, and it is absolutely sickening. De Beers, which is a absolutely horrible company, has a shared operation called NAMDEB, which is connected to the Namibian government. They are estimating that in the future, 95% of its diamonds are going to come from the seabed of Africa's southwest coast. And of course, this brings with it erosion of land. This brings with it disruption to the local sea life and species. Special ships, which have essentially tractors and drills custom built into them, are now going to be scattering out in the sea to try to recover diamonds. It is absolutely disgusting. I mean, I just don't even know how else to describe this. And what I'm waiting for, I don't know if I'll be alive long enough to see it, but it's going to happen at some point, is when asteroid mining becomes more prevalent. The early technology for this is already being tested. We are going to see some test attempts in earnest over the next 3 to 5 years. When we recover an asteroid made completely of diamond, what is going to happen to all the people who spent 6 months' salary on that engagement ring? What is going to, that's actually who I care about, because all of a sudden that diamond is going to be worth nothing. What's going to happen to the De Beers family when that happens? I'm less concerned with that. I'm interested in that, but I am very, very much unconcerned in terms of what happens to them. They've certainly got plenty of money, because the valuable nature of diamond is completely arbitrary and a cultural construct. There is no absolute or inherent value to diamonds. And we have these artificial markets. It's leading to people who, and I know many of them, really can't afford and shouldn't be spending even 2 months' salary on one of these diamond rings for their big proposal to their significant other. I'm completely opposed to it. And my girlfriend now has been convinced of this as well. You will all be very, very pleased to know. Last time I mentioned this, I got a lot of emails saying, David, it's really great that you think this, but what does your girlfriend think? She is anti-diamond now. And for that, I think, you know what I'm talking about. We can all be very, very grateful. Just a quick reminder, we have today the Monday show, we have the Tuesday show, we have the Wednesday show, and then we will have a David Pakman Show vacation. There will be no new show Thursday, Friday. There will also be no new shows the following week. And then we will be back full steam ahead. We will have a debate preview on Monday, September 26th. And then, of course, on the 27th, we are going to have a full breakdown of what portends to be the major event we have all been waiting for. And also, we already are, I recently got my copy of attorney Mike Papantonio's new book, Law and Disorder. I am a character in the book. There's a character named David Pakman in attorney Mike Papantonio's book. We are going to interview Mike Papantonio about the book. And I may even read a passage from it, or maybe Mike Papantonio will read a passage where I am mentioned, and I think the audience will really, really like that. And hopefully I will also have a copy of the book to give away. So all of that stuff after the vacation, but we will still be here Tuesday and Wednesday.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.